Hello friends, for today's video we're going to be talking about the first 6 episodes for season 2 of Attack on Titan. I'm actually going to start with the 6th episode because I need to talk about the 6th episode. But before I do, I just really want to make clear that this was the 6th episode, which I know sounds kind of stupid, but if this is your first time watching it, like it's my first time watching, the 6th episode has a huge reveal in it, and when we were going through episodes in season 1, we would watch things in 5-episode chunks, so if you got in the habit of only watching 5 at a time, you might want to click off this and just make sure you've watched the 6th episode, because I just really want to ensure that nobody is spoiled or has anything ruined for them. But with all that said, hopefully you've had the chance to click off if you haven't watched the episode Warrior, which I have some thoughts about that word, which we'll get into. But, yeah, what? What the heck? So apparently Berthold and Rainer have been the big ones this whole time? So that means the very first episode, it was them. Unless they somehow pass on powers to someone else. But then the attack on Trost, sorry, I said that really weird. The attack on Trost, that one showed up for a second, and then Eren almost got it, and then it poofed away, and he was like, huh? And then you don't really see it again. And I was like, was he there? Now I want to go back and double check everything. But I do want to know a few things about this reveal. First off, I can't decide if this was the weakest way to reveal this information that I've ever seen, or if it was kind of brilliant. I can't decide. Because upon watching, they just tell Eren, they're just like, by the way, we're those big titans. Do you want to come with us? And the way it's done is you're seeing, I'm not sure how to pronounce her name, I think it's Hanji, but she's walking away, Mikasa's starting to walk away, but then of course, because she has extra senses, it almost feels like she doesn't literally, but because she can just like tell when there's stuff going on, it's mostly just if something's involving Eren and Eren is even a little bit away from her, she has to pay close attention. And there's conversation happening, and then over that you see Rainer just be like, we're the Titans, and I was like, are they talking as if it's a strategy? Like, so, let's say that we're the Titans. If that's the case, what would you do next? Like, I thought maybe they were laying out some kind of scenario. And when it appeared on the screen, because I'm watching the sub, when the text appeared on the screen, my husband and I just kind of were like, wait, what? And then Eren's sitting there, and I'm like, are they testing Eren to see... Are they nervous now because of everything that's transpired? Because now all of a sudden, oh look, another one of us was a Titan, so whose loyalties can we trust? You know, I was just like, what? This can't be how they're delivering. Like, he just told you out of nowhere, he's just telling you. So I was like, I feel like that can't be what's happening. But then the more the scene was unfolding, it was like, wait, they do kind of look like them. And then I'm like, they also seemed to care when Eren, back in training, when Eren was like, I was there. And those two in particular, if I'm remembering correctly, seemed like sensitive to that fact before. They seemed like they were like, well, he was there, we should listen. But now I'm like, were they just trying to see if he knew? Or if he'd pieced it together somehow? Were they just trying to keep tabs on him? Because they're like, uh-oh, this guy was there, so let's make sure we pay extra attention to him. I was like, oh no, are they? And then when they turned, I was like, wait, no, this can't be what happened. I really wanted to watch the next episode, but I couldn't. I turned to Sean, I was like, should we watch the next episode? He's like, I gotta go to bed. And I was like, dang it. But also, I'm like, it's probably for the best, because I said I would only watch 6. So anyway, I am confused about how I feel. I think that the information has been foreshadowed. I actually think it's been there and really well hidden. However, I can't decide if I don't know if I like the way that this was revealed. I don't know. Again, was it kind of brilliant because they just threw it in there out of nowhere, or was it not and kind of lazy? I don't know. But it doesn't matter. It's exciting. I don't know what's going to happen next. Another Titan fight, it would seem, which I'm down with. But there's a part of me too that's like, are we really fighting these ones already? I feel like they can't be they can't be dealt with yet, right? They feel like they're end game. Feel like they're the final bosses, but maybe they're not. Because there's the weird ape one now. There's just so much. There's just so much. With this new information, I think that the first and most obvious thought would be that, oh, they're the ones that were there 5 years ago. It was them. And then when Trost happened and the one appeared for a moment, I guess he was there just for a bit and then left. It was when Aaron was going to try to fight him and then he just disappeared. So the logical conclusion would be that they were present, but then there's those flashbacks that we've been getting where Raynor is remembering the other one who turned out to be a Titan. It would seem that Titan ate one of their friends, so they didn't seem like they liked Titans. So I'm wondering, is there some kind of passing on of certain Titan forms? So, for example, the female Titan that Annie turns into, I don't probably need to explain what I'm trying to say, but just in case, the female Titan that Annie transforms into, is there a way for someone else, this is rhetorical, please don't answer because I don't want to be spoiled, is there a way that, let's say something happens to Annie, does this form still exist that then if something happens to Annie, somebody else takes that form when they become a Titan? Is it somehow passed on? Because Raynor, I'm like, Raynor's pretty young. Raynor and Berthold aren't that old, right? It doesn't seem like they would have even been old enough. I don't know how old you can be. Well, maybe you can be a kid, but I feel like they would look different. Or maybe they wouldn't. I don't know. But I don't know what to make of this. I really like Raynor. I really like him a lot. I don't want him to be bad. I like him way more than Annie, mostly because I didn't have feelings about Annie. I hadn't seen her be awesome and save her friend. I didn't see her have awesome triumphant moments. I didn't see her have vulnerable moments. I just didn't have a whole lot with her. Whereas this character, it's like he's been brotherly to them when he tells Connie, like, I'll go back with you to your village. And when he's trying to rally everybody, I just think he seems awesome and great. And I don't want him to die or to I don't know. I don't want sorry, I'm shaking the table. I don't want bad things to happen to him. But also it seems like he caused a lot of death. Unless that wasn't him in that form back in the day, unless it's him now. But I don't know if that makes any sense. I don't know. I'm confused and scared and sad. All that said, let's go back to the first episode of the season and go now in order. The first episode of the season is called Beast Titan. I don't like this Titan because he squished a horse and then he threw it at a character that seemed really cool, and I immediately wanted him to die. And also him talking. This whole section was just filled with more like, what? More question marks. So the first thing I wrote, you must keep that Titan out of the sunlight. And then I wrote sunlight after that. So I've been saying that I do feel like somehow sunlight is connected to the Titans, which I don't think is a really particularly profound conclusion to come to. I think it seems like it's hitting that point pretty clearly. I just don't know what it means. And I also knew those stupid priests were up to something. And I don't know what, but I want to know. And then I wrote, Connie's friend offering to go with him, which was in reference to Raynor. No, not the horse. Also, I'm sure I'm wrong, but I just, for some reason, I wrote Aaron's dad vibe. So, for some reason, that weird Titan that I guess is the Beast Titan, I don't know, for whatever reason, it makes me think of Aaron's dad. And I couldn't really pinpoint why. I don't know if it's because it seems more knowledgeable. So then I'm like, well, Aaron's dad seemed like he knew something. It's like the only other knowledgeable character I can think of that isn't one of the religious people in the show. I don't know why I'm having this feeling. I also later on noted, I was like, he has pointy ears, and Aaron's Titan form has pointy ears, but I don't know what else would give me that impression. I think and it also doesn't make any sense, because he's like, I'm pretty sure we speak the same language. I'm like, he would know that. So I don't think there's anything to that. But this show is making me feel like anything is possible, so that any theory out there is potentially not a stupid one, but this is probably just a stupid theory. Misha's death may have been the most horrifying. Okay, when he died, all their deaths are horrifying. But first off, he has this horse thrown at him. And then they just start like ripping him apart. And it's awful. It's an awful death. And then also, I have an eye phobia. So when the Beast Titan just like squeezes the really small one, I couldn't. Oh no, I can see it still. Oh, it's so gross. It's so gross. I have to move on. After that horrifying death, then we get the most chipper sounding outro music. So I wrote, dude, what is this outro? It's kind of like how after episode 22, which is the best episode so far, after Petra's body is thrown off the cart and Levi looks sad and everybody's like, oh, you guys are back. And then you see all the families, whatever. Episode 22 is so good. And then you go into the next episode and I was noting when this happened, it's back to like this triumphant theme. And I'm like, no. That theme does not work here, which I know. That's not how, they don't assign a theme to specific feelings at the ends of episodes. But this outro is so chipper sounding. It has nothing to do with the story. I was just upset about it after watching that horrifying death. Episode 27. This one's called I'm Home, and I wrote, Dot's back, but he's only there for a second. You just see him like, and then we move on. So I'm like, no, I want more of him. And then I wrote, interesting frame. So specifically, there's a part where they're once again in like a cart, and Hanji and Levi and the priest are on one side, and then on the other side, you have Mikasa, Eren, and Armin. And Armin is kind of being like, oh, and just theorizing out loud as he does. And there's a frame where, because the priest is between Levi and Hanji, when Armin's talking, you see the back of his head, and then you see those other two characters on either side of him. So there is sort of this framing of, I don't know, there's like this placement of Armin and the religious figures in line, the religious man in this instance, Pastor Nick, I think is his name, right? I gotta check that. Yeah, Pastor Nick, that's the best. Anyway, so he's in line with Pastor Nick, and so it's probably nothing, but I'm like looking for clues everywhere. I'm like, is somehow Armin connected? Was his family connected to the church somehow? Probably not, but whatever. I liked the frame. That's really all it comes down to. And now I'm just like, I liked it. It was notable in my mind. But is it notable because it's artistic, or are they trying to say something? Is this what this show did to all of you while you were watching it? Did you constantly find yourself being like, maybe? Or are you chill and you're like, I'm just gonna watch and enjoy? Anyway, is Sasha not entirely human? Because we get a Sasha flashback, and I know she likes food, and I know she likes potatoes, but she seems especially ravenous when they go to that flashback, and almost animal-like with her desire for food. So then I'm like, is she totally a human? And then I wrote, go Sasha, because she had an awesome moment when she saves that little girl. It was almost like suspense, horror level vibes when there's that small titan that's just eating that poor woman, and then that little child's just sitting there, and then Sasha comes in and hits it with the axe, but then she loses her grip on the axe, and then you're like, oh jeez. So she grabs the girl and they're running, and I'm like, go. I was like, dude, you can't have just given me her flashback and then you're gonna kill her. So please, I was like, dude, they're gonna kill her. I was so fearful. So they're running, they go across that bridge, the Titan's following them, she shoots it in the eye, and then she stabs it in the eye. But when she's getting ready to shoot it, I was so terrified that she would kill it, and then some other Titan would show up behind her and kill her, which would have been awful, but also totally plausible in the show. I was also afraid that once she stabbed it, that it would like squeeze her, because I guess I was already having flashbacks to the one squeezing the other one in the first episode, but I was just like, no, Sasha, get out. So she escaped, which was great. And that made me really happy. And then there's the Titan in Connie's village. So I noted a few things upon first seeing it. I think that this show is really leading you to believe that this is Connie's mother somehow. So I wrote a few things, though. As soon as it came up in frame, I wrote it had similar eyes to him, because it does. Their eyes are really similar. I wrote the little girl's mom also had something with her legs, because the little girl mentions, the one that Sasha just saved, that her mother, the whole village knew that her mother's legs, that there was something about them that made it difficult for her to maneuver easily, and nobody came to help them, and that made it really easy for the Titan to get her. But because there's something with her legs, they note when they see this Titan in this other village, they're like, how would it have gotten here with those legs? And I don't know if it's just one of those situations where it didn't fully transform or something. That's similar to when Aaron's only partially transformed in the first season. So I didn't know if it was something like that, or if it was something like if you are turning into a Titan, if one person's being harmed somewhere, does that cause a Titan to form somewhere else? And if it does it end up having characteristics of the person who's being fed on over here? I don't know. And then I wrote, it's blonde, which was not that particularly notable, but I wrote it down. And then episode 28, Southwestward. Because Connie keeps thinking like it was his mom, and they're looking around, they're like, oh, there's no bodies or blood, so everybody must have escaped. And it would seem more than likely that somehow all of them turned into Titans. I'm waiting for one of them to guess that. It does kind of seem like maybe a couple of the characters are curious and they're trying to keep people's thoughts from that. After that, I wrote, was there a food scarcity which led them to eat people? So a little explanation for this. When you get Sasha's flashback, you see that it used to be more so like they lived off the land and hunting, but her dad was saying, well, we can feed a lot more people if we actually are able to plant things, and I think that we're going to lose our way of life, but this is what's for the greater good. And Sasha doesn't seem to like the idea of that. However, when she goes, she's kind of surprised to see that there's so much more there than what used to be. And we've seen throughout the show them noting that there's a food scarcity. So then there was a part of me that was wondering, was there a food scarcity in these small villages? And then maybe they ate each other or started to eat people. And then now that's what's leading to potentially a whole small village turning into Titans, if that's even what's happening. I don't know. So anyway, that is just another probably incorrect theory that I'm throwing out there. I wrote Captain Rico because we haven't seen her since she immediately gave up on Aaron in the Tross quest when she was like, he can't control himself. That's it. Mission's bad. But she's really cool. And I've been wondering if she was going to show up again. So we see her for half a second. And we haven't really seen her since. Levi kicking Pastor Nick. I loved it because Pastor Nick's like, oh, so many people. Oh, and Levi just kicks him. And then he's like, yeah, what did you think would happen? So I enjoyed that Levi moment. And I wrote, what's up with Krista and Ymir? Which we'll get to. I don't know why you're so attached to Aaron. So Levi was just giving us some comic relief in this episode. So he's, talking to every individual character like Armin, keeping smart, and Mikasa, keep protecting Aaron. And he says, I don't know why you're so attached to him, but I thought that was so funny that he's like, this guy? Really? Or however you want to perceive that statement. I think he's more so just like, I don't know why, but you are, so keep protecting him. Anyway, then we get to episode 29, which is Soldier. I wrote 2 hours later, and then I wrote 2 hours earlier. 12 hours earlier. I kind of wish they'd go to this less. So this is probably my one major criticism for all of these episodes, is that they're falling into, I think, too often we're going to start an episode and things are going to be intense, and then we're going to do a flashback, and then we're going to start the next episode, and then you're like, okay, let's go, and then they're like, we're going to go back in time, and then we're going to build things up, and then it's going to be explosive at the end, and it's a cliffhanger, and then we're going to go to the next episode, and it's like 2 hours earlier, and they've done it too many times for my taste. That's it, though. That's pretty much the only negative thing I have to say. I already think they've leaned into this a few times in the first season. So for them they did it 3 times in these 6 episodes. That's too much, in my opinion. Bro, Ymir is what? I really wanted to know when it seemed like we were going to get some kind of reveal. Obviously, we discover that she is also a Titan. Before I knew, I wrote Raynor is awesome. And then Bertholdt calling him a warrior. That's what Annie called herself. So in the first season, when I was doing the batch review, I noted that Annie said right before she transformed into the female Titan, back when they were in the city again, she said, like, I'm a fallen warrior. I'm a failed warrior. And I was like, what does that mean? That means something. And then Bertholdt calls Raynor that. And I was like, no, why is he calling him that? So this is what I meant earlier when I said there were maybe some hints and some foreshadowing about Raynor and Bertholdt, but I'm also just like, I need to know more. So anyway, I still don't know what that means, though. What does that mean? And then I wrote this is where I wrote the Beast Titan has pointy ears like Aaron. Can I just say also, all of those other scouts that are trying to heroically guard this tower, and there's the one whose name was Nanaba, I think. He was very pretty. He was drawn very beautiful. And he was so cool. And I was like, no. When they're all getting killed, I was very upset. Episode 30. I think it's pronounced Historia, which sounds like the names of the walls, in my opinion. It sounds like a wall name. So I'm like, is there some kind of connection between royalty and the walls, or who got chosen to be in the walls as Titan or something? I don't know. I feel like there's something there. I wish I could figure it out. I wish I had the answers. So Ymira, she transformed to save some characters. And then she ate Rainer's friend, was what I was wondering, because that's what the flashback kind of seems like it's indicating. And then I wrote, I need the other scouts to show up. And then I wrote, Mikasa, finally. When they do, I was like, dude, they gotta show up. Come on, they've gotta show up soon. Because what the heck, I'm getting tired of the idea of all of them potentially dying. They're doing their best. We need the best and brightest to save them. And then they do show up, and it was awesome. And also, it was super funny that Eren got his first traditional kill, because obviously he's taken out some enemies as Titan Eren. But it was really quite fun that he finally got his first real kill as a person. I do want to go back to something really quick when I was mentioning Krista. Obviously, there's that scene where the priest is saying, Pastor Nick is saying that, oh, I can't tell you anything. I'm telling you, nobody's going to tell you nothing. But also, we've been watching somebody, and then it cuts to Sasha's like, I have a report. And then so you get cut off. And then you gather, though, that they did have a discussion about someone, and it seems like they were discussing Krista. But then when you see Ymir turn to a Titan, then you're kind of thinking, wait, were they actually talking about her? I'm wondering, though, I'm like, were they always talking about Krista? I think they were talking about Krista. I think they were keeping their eyes on Krista because there's something about the nobility. What that something might be, I don't know. Is there like a bloodline thing? Like the noble line has some kind of cure to the Titans, or do they have some kind of specific bloodline that is allowing them to become the Titans that they can control, whereas the other ones are more mindless, like the ones that follow the Beast Titan? I don't know. Anyway, then we get to the last episode, Warrior. I wrote, will Rainer have Titan powers now? Because when he got bit, for a while, I've had a theory that cannibalism is linked to the Titan, so the idea of him getting partially eaten, I was like, oh no, is he gonna then? Which obviously that was wrong, unless it wasn't. Is he now one of them because he got bitten? I don't think so, because then Berthold, that wouldn't make sense for him. But anyway, I just don't want it to be true. When he pulled the one on top of his shoulders and then threw it out the window, I was like, dude, he's so cool. I don't want him to be bad. And then I wrote, stop with the X hours earlier. We talked about this. And that's basically it. I'm upset again. And I'm happy I'm upset. But I really want to watch those next episodes. So I'm going to as soon as possible. And I look forward to it. But also I'm like, no, aren't there 2 more seasons? I want answers already. I just feel like they keep kind of giving you something and then being like, okay, now that you have that, let me have something else here that's going to confuse you further. And I'm both enjoying it and hating it. So, but I'm enjoying it. I'm only really enjoying it. I just really want to know. I can't imagine if you were somebody who was like, I don't want to read the manga. I'll just wait until the show is complete. I feel so bad for you that you had to wait so long. I'm over here like, oh, I don't want to have to stop at this episode, even though I can just pick up and watch the next 6 pretty much whenever I want. So if you actually had to wait, I'm sure that was especially painful, especially the years that you had to wait. Oh, that would have been brutal. I wonder how many of you went, and feel free to say how many of you went from watching the show and you couldn't wait to find out, so then you jumped into the manga. Anywho, this was compelling. I don't think that any of these episodes were quite at the level of episode 22 from the previous season, but they were all quite solid. And I am looking forward to probably being angry and upset and happy about it next week. So thanks so much for watching. I hope you have a great rest of your day, and I'll see you later. Bye. Luna, are you sad? Yeah. It's okay. Sometimes that happens in shows. I know. It's okay.